Hi. How are you?
Oh, just coming to you from my car. No big deal.
I love it. Do what you got to do right now, girl. I feel you.
My toddler is just like, I know you understand.
I understand wholeheartedly.
And she's just like on a mama kick. And I was just like, this is never going to happen. I am safer in a bubble. So here I am.
Oh my God. I get it. We kind of lock her up with my husband in the other room watching Trolls or something because there's just a lot of emotions flying around.
It's a lot. It's so many emotions. And mine's going to be 2 next month. And it's just like, she just doesn't have the capacity yet to be reasonable. Yeah. So it's just
that lasts a while, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know.
Mine just turned 4 and we're still sort of in that very unreasonable stage. So
yeah. So it's a lot.
It's fun.
Really good time. So here we are in the car away from my toddler.
I know. I was telling Erica the other day, I was like, we should be quarantined with our toddlers all the time. It's just so much fun. So I feel you. I'm in solidarity with you.
I know you are. I know. I was like, if anyone's going to get it, it's going to be Romany. So
yeah, for sure. Well, this is your night. This is a little vacay, hopefully.
A little bit, yeah. This is my brief respite. Well, my husband has these little classes he has to take online too, and so he gets his moment, but he never gets bothered by her. So
right. I totally get it. Luckily, mine's on a little bit of a daddy kick, so it's
good. Take advantage.
I'm taking advantage. Yes. Oh man. Well, thank you for doing this.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for asking me.
Of course, and thank you for being part of all of this, the casting director's cut, and just being on board with everything, and participating in all of the challenges. It's been fun.
No, it's been super cool, and I think it's been fulfilling for us too. I think you guys have talked about that before because we're all just trapped and trying to find ways to fill our cup and still be people, and it's also hard with the kids because you're just momming full time and you're like, oh my God, is all I am a mom now?
Yes. Oh, I know, and I think that I was telling Erica if I don't put my head into casting throughout all of this and then we're thrown back in, I'm gonna be it's gonna be so far-fetched for me, and it's just nice to my casting brain is a whole nother brain. We have the mom brain and the casting brain. I need to keep that moving a little bit.
Yeah, you gotta keep the muscle working.
Yes, totally. I have lots of fun questions for you.
Oh, good.
So let's give it a go. So I do want to kind of preface it with, everyone obviously has a different opinion and a different, stance on all of these things. Every casting director, every casting office. So I know sometimes people are like, oh, but, I've heard this and heard this. Everyone has a different experience, a different opinion. These are just our views, so I just want to put that out there.
The
disclaimer, but I also like to ask some of the same questions because of that, to hear different perspectives. And so many questions that people ask, but usually the biggest one is what's the biggest note that you tend to give actors in the room?
Yeah. So it's interesting because a lot of what I do is in the comedy world. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like when you are working in that sphere, everybody brings their own funny to it in a certain way. And so a lot of the notes that I give is just tapping into that funny a little bit. But I would say the most common note is really throwing it away, because I think people just over-plan and over-hype and over-produce, and they're just thinking, especially with the multicam, when they're louder, faster, funnier.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily have to be that way.
Right.
And it applies to drama, it applies to comedy, it applies to so many things. We're just looking for you and what you do and what you bring to it. And so the more natural you is what's most interesting to us, and tapping into that stuff that makes you so uniquely you is, I think, usually going to be the funnier stuff, or going to be the more, interesting and real stuff. And so that's really what we want. So I think that's probably the biggest note. And I think it's the most annoying note too. I get when actors hear that they're like, ugh,
give me some gold, give me something new. It's here's a reason why it's the most common note. And something that I say a lot is let the words do the work for you. And I have not been as privileged to work in as much comedy as you. I would love to work on more comedy. I did just work on a Netflix comedy right before all of this happened, and it was so much fun.
The best.
But it's true. One thing that I really noticed was, like you said, actors trying to make something more of it when like the writing's funny. You know, that the words are there, the lines are there. If you just be you, it's gonna land. You know what I mean?
Totally.
You don't have to add more to it. They did a good job of writing dialogue.
They picked it up because it was funny. Like they're making it because it's funny. Some writer is like doing it. They're damnedest.
They're doing their job.
Funny. So, and like, look, like obviously there's sometimes depending on the project and depending on the, whatever it is, you can take some liberties with it. And sometimes you can make your own, sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
And sometimes one little thing you do is going to add something tremendously hilarious. But if the next person came in and did that, it wouldn't work as well, just because it's like who you are that makes it fun.
Right.
So it's like, it's being conscious of that too, like, and not just beating it to death.
Totally.
In anything.
Yeah. And with that said, I know comedy's probably a little bit different and everyone has a different opinion on this, but would you say that actors are more encouraged or allowed to ad-lib a little bit more in the room or add a button at the end?
It totally depends on the project. Like I've worked on projects where they just want people to bring their flavor to it. So like a little improvisation or a little bit of fun is totally encouraged. I've worked on projects where they were like, they added a comma at the end of that sentence and there's a period, like, or whatever it is, like they pick up on that stuff. So I think it just depends. Like you have to know the world you're walking into, and especially like just ask the question like, oh, if I put a button on this, and we'll say nope. Or we'll say like, do your thing.
Right.
But like what I always tell people is a button is small. You know what I mean? Like a button is small. We don't see lots of big buttons in our everyday life.
Right.
A button is small.
True. Right.
And so when you start when your buttons become like 3 sentences at the end of the scene, you're rewriting the material at that point, and that's not okay.
Yeah, totally. And that's something that I noticed more working on this comedy than I'd ever noticed, because there's not really room to ad-lib in drama. It kind of is what it is, but you can have a little bit more fun with comedy. And I was noticing a lot more actors ad-libbing, which I just found hilarious and fun. Not necessarily the right thing, but I was just having a ball with it.
Yeah.
But I was noticing that not only were they ad-libbing or adding all these buttons, but they were ad-libbing through adding their own stuff throughout the entire scene.
Yeah.
Which was different for me. So I think that is important to be aware of. And like you said, some shows are lean into that a little bit more and some don't. So that's sort of part of your homework, if the show has already been airing.
To figure it out and
figure
know
it out
stepping into. I mean, listen, like I worked on The League. We didn't even have scripts on The League. Like all of the auditions were improvised completely. It was it was like a scenario, and we were like, okay, this is the role, and they're in an office, and this is what we're getting to at the end of the scene, and she has an attitude, like go. And so like those were entirely improvised situations, which were like hard on everybody, but still like amazing and fun and like incredible. And then I've worked on shows where they're like, like add your own flavor to it, add your own spin to it. But when you're rewriting material the whole way through the scene, like it's not gonna fly.
Right. And you have to remember that these tapes are being shown to the people who are writing them. So, writers like to hear their own writing. So you don't want to send tapes to producers and they're looking forward to hearing their writing out loud. And then you're rewriting it, So I think that's important too. That's interesting. I didn't know you worked on The League. Erica and I have a very interesing story about that. I don't know if she's told you.
Oh, yes, I do know. I know exactly.
Yes. Story for another day. I always think of that when I hear that show. It's like PTSD.
Yeah.
Man. So many fun times that we've had in casting, which is actually another question that people love to ask is, like, what's a moment that really like stood out to you in your career? Whether like a funny moment or an interesting moment or something that just any sort of fun casting.
I feel like there's so many, but I think like honestly watching Sterling K. Brown win an Emmy for People versus OJ was just like one of my favorite things that ever happened. One, because he's Sterling K. Brown and he's genius and amazing, but two, because speaking of PTSD, like seeing that role for as many months as we did and as many people as we saw and as much of that casting that monster of a heartbreak, like like, and so just see all of that literal blood, sweat, and tears and 7 days a week and grueling life that we were living for that long casting that project, to watch him win in that way and watch him rise and watch him just own was just like, like, oh my God, it's so
all
good.
worth it. I know. I know that feeling, but that's such a good point. You know, it can be a very grueling process. And not even just the amount of people that we read, but trying to prove to someone that this person can do it. And going through all the hoops that we have to go through, whether it's finding random footage from some, you know what I mean?
I tell people all the time, like, you guys have your reels and you have your materials. You don't realize that what we are also doing when we need to sell you properly is we're going on your Instagram, we're going on YouTube, we're pulling other links and other reels and things that you guys don't even have, because we know that there's this one specific scene and this one specific moment that's going to sell you the way that we need to sell you. And I get maybe why it's not on your reel, but like, that's the moment that we need to get you this job. And so it's just like, it's a constant treasure hunt for us to, like,
it really is,
figure this stuff out.
But then it is so nice when you go through all of that work and you finally are able to see that people recognize what you saw in that person.
Totally.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. People love to know pet peeves. Like, what are your biggest pet peeves? I can share mine too.
Honestly, they're like going to be all the regular ones, but like the biggest ones are just, and we sort of already touched on it, is when you walk in and you just don't know anything about the project you're auditioning for. Like, you haven't even Googled it to find out like what it is, who the showrunner might be, who the producers are. Because like, I get sometimes there's not a lot of information, or if it's a pilot and you're like, I don't know what this is. But if you just look at a Deadline article, you might get a world of information that you haven't already have just by knowing who the showrunner is and looking up their past projects. Like, oh, I get the tone of what this is because they all work on similarly toned things. And so when you come in and you're like, so what is this? And I don't get this. And like, I haven't taken the 2 seconds to Google it or look it up on IMDb. And like, in the 6th season of a show, it's sort of unacceptable to me too. Like, there's just so much information. And if you're not doing your homework, like, you know, why?
It's true though. With every, first of all, Google is the best resource we know in the modern world. You know, you can find so much through a Google search, but these Deadline articles, I mean, even when I'm trying to do my own research on something, when something is getting just in the development stage, there's so much information, even just knowing, dark comedy about a post-apocalyptic world surrounding this. Like, that one sentence can tell you so much that you can't get maybe from the other resources that are given to you. So
it's just like, and if you're not taking the time, especially if you have questions, like, you're obviously asking because you have questions about it. So like, you have plenty of time before that audition when you're stewing at 1 a.m. and you can't sleep. Like, just Google it and look it up and see if you can maybe get that question answered. And I'm not saying don't ask questions. Like, obviously ask questions. You have a moment where there is a resource and we want you to succeed. But when there are basic things that, like, everybody should have a good idea of, and in order to sort of do your best work, you have to have a foundation of knowing when coming in, because you're not going to do your best work if you don't have some of that information.
Of course.
And so it's just hard. But like, we do want you to ask questions. We do want to clarify things for you so that you can succeed in the room always. Like, I think, like, like, pet peeve wise, it's like, I don't know. I just, like, I want you to succeed, and I want you to know that I want you to succeed. So like, let's work together, man. Let's, like, make this a good situation.
And it also lends to asking smarter questions. And that's helpful to us. I mean, when you ask smarter questions, we can give smarter direction.
Exactly.
Great advice. So you worked on both TV and films, which is a little bit different from my experience. I've worked on a few movies, but I mostly work on television. Which do you like better and why? And then what's like the biggest fundamental difference in the casting process between the two of them?
So I prefer TV, and I know I have, like, lots of people that differ on this, but like, for me
too.
I love the pace of television. I love that each week I have a new episode, I have a new director, I have a new script, and like we have a hard deadline that like we gotta get it done.
Yes.
Film, the biggest difference I find is it just, you have so much more time with it because you're just, you know, you're not week to week changing the way you are. And they will hold out on film until it's like perfect, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Which they should be doing. And some people work better that way. For me, I just like, I started with the pace of TV. I've worked predominantly in TV. It's sort of my jam. But that really is the biggest difference. And actually, like, I remember one of the first films I ever did, we like ran out of sides in the lobby for this one role that came in, and the actor had come in and he was like, do you have another copy of sides? And we were like, oh shoot, we don't. And I was like, well, just take mine. And he was like, well, what are you going to read? And I was like, I've been doing this for 6 weeks. Know. Like, I don't need to read sides. I don't need sides to read with you, dude. I'm good. So it's, you know, the pace is, it's a lot slower. You know, depending if you're doing, obviously if you're dealing with like a big studio, you're dealing with a lot more names and offers. You're seeing less actual live auditions for those roles. And you're doing some really fun chemistry reads sometimes with some like very cool people. But like the sort of like creative discovery aspect is not there as much, where you're like finding new talents as much, because like, you know, you want to see movie stars in movies. Like that's just what people want to see. And that doesn't mean like that movies don't work without movie stars. I'm not saying that at all. Like obviously there are people that get their big breaks and do amazing things and become whoever they become. But it's just like a different energy and a different pace. And I like that.
I'm the same way. I am too. I also like, I get burnt out a little bit. And the few times that I have worked on movies, my God, it's just like the dates push, which with TV, the dates, unless, you know, something like this happens, the dates aren't going to push. And it is nice to kind of have that, like each week, okay, brand new story, brand new characters, brand new directors. So I'm with you.
Also, if you have a TV show that's going on for many, many, many seasons, like you have a family, you know, and like that is such a nice thing to do too, to like have those homies who are like your people that you're in the trenches with, that you're working with for years. Like there's something really special about that, especially when you're working on something that's successful and gets the opportunity to run for a really long time, that I love. So
I totally agree. That's honestly probably my biggest reason of loving TV. And it's not always lucky that we get, you know, those types of shows where they're on for that long, but when they are,
especially lately.
Is there a specific audition that sticks out to you that's really memorable? You don't have to say who it is, but like, is there something that you remember that was so exciting and jumped out to you, and like why that was so memorable for you?
I think there's a couple that I can think of off the top of my head for vastly different projects. And I just think like the reason that we do this job is because we love this job. You know what I mean? Like nobody grows, not many people except Erica S. Breen grow up thinking they want to be a casting director.
I know.
Like nobody's like, that's what I want to do. This is a job that like you really have to like cultivate and love and hone, because there's so many aspects to it. So when you sit in a room and you watch someone just fucking nail it, and just like everything you were looking for coming to life in the exact way you've been wanting it to come to life, it's just so magical and delicious and yummy. And I can think of like off the top of my head like 3 or 4 different ones in different projects that just like it was like a light shines down in the room, and then the audition's over and everybody's like, like it's magic, and that's what we all strive for, you know. And it could just be the right person at the right time. It doesn't mean necessarily that they did anything that was so significant. It was just the right energy of the right essence for the right thing. Because so much of this job is right place, right time, you know.
Totally. So I talk about reels a lot, you know, because I watch reels a lot. And you know, obviously I started this because I felt that there was sort of a disconnect as to what we use them for in our process. I mean, we actually use them for multiple reasons, you know, and what is important to us. So I think it's just helpful to hear from other casting directors why, you know, obviously I've said why I think it's so important, and just to hear from you why you think it's so important, and the ways that we use it.
So, I mean, generally speaking, and I tell this to actors a lot, like when I'm looking at a reel, I am usually looking at the reel in that context of the role of whatever I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I don't spend a lot of time just like looking at demo reels all day and like looking at, although now lately in quarantine, that's what I'm doing. But generally speaking at work, I am looking for that role in that moment going through. And so a lot of it is, if I don't know you, but like I have a tingly sensation that like maybe you're somebody that could fit this role, I will defer to that reel, and so that I can see your body and your presence and your voice and all of the things that your photo and resume don't tell me about, the way that you speak, the cadence with which you speak, the way you hold your body, the way you know, exude your power or your gravitas or whatever it is, that I'm only going to get from being able to watch you move and speak in a demo reel. And looking at it in that context, I can go, oh, this is exactly what we need for this role. Let's bring this person in. Or, oh, no, this is not going to work here, but maybe I'll keep this person in mind for something else that I'm working on, or whatever it is. So I think, like, generally speaking, at work, that's sort of how I'm looking at the reels. Lately, because now we're all stuck at home, now I'm looking at them with sort of a more, with sort of a wider lens, in a sense of just like, you know, how you are and what you do and the vibe that you bring. So I can just sort of, you know, file that in my brain of how you present, and then see sort of where that fits in later, just to like get to know you and get to know what you do well, because that's what a reel should be. It should be a good representation of who you are and what you do and what you bring to the table, because that's what we're looking for in that moment, like we were talking about earlier, like of being naturally you, and what, and you know, what it is you do with the words or whatever. And, you know, it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be the most powerful person in the world. Like, if you do sensitive and vulnerable, like, that's what we want to see too. We just want to see an accurate representation of you. And that's what's important about it, I think.
Yeah. And I think it's important to note that even when we're all working and back in the industry, we don't have time to watch the entirety of someone's reel anyway, you know what I mean? And so for me personally, I always watch a few seconds of the reel, and if I see strength and ability there, then I'll click forward and watch a few seconds of each clip. And I think that's what a majority of us do.
I don't know a single person who's just going to sit there and watch the entire reel.
You can't. You'll never sleep. You'll never eat. There's just not enough hours in the day. But we have to be so efficient with our time, because as you know, in TV, it is just quick. And I don't know how you feel, but for me personally, when I pull up a profile that has like a long list of clips, it can get a little overwhelming. You know, when it's like, I don't know what to click on first. So it's really nice to see that demo reel up there and to be able to.
You know, people ask all the time, like, do you prefer like have it separated? Do you prefer like this and that? Honestly, like, I don't have a huge preference. I just want to click on it and it to work. But when you're making me search through like 30 different options, like,
it's overwhelming.
Like, it's really overwhelming, and like I don't know what I'm looking for. Like, I just want to see you. So I think like what I've seen, and I don't have a preference on this, but but I think what's been helpful is separating by comedy and drama sometimes, because then I'm like, oh, dramatic reel, great, that's exactly what I need, or oh, comedy reel, great, that's exactly what I need. But when it comes to like splitting up into like, I have 40 shows for you to choose from, it's like, well, then why don't I'm just looking at your resume, like I'm not looking at your demo reel.
And I always say that, you know, because I work mostly in drama, I like I said, love me some comedy, and I would love to watch comedy all day.
But it's not helpful for you.
It's not helpful for me, and I have to be efficient with my time. And so I'm just going to click on that drama reel, and it's really, when you're thinking about thousands of submissions per role, say there's like 20 roles in an episode, and we have 8 days in a prep schedule. You know, you have to be so selective with your time, and to just click on one thing for me, it's just like, it's those milliseconds. I mean, even when you're going on the computer and you're doing all these shortcuts all the time, it's like a shortcut. I have all of these clips in one place, and I can get everything that, you know, your range and your ability in one place, and it's easier. I'm not against having separate clips either, but I think that it's so much more helpful.
Too many or too overwhelming. And also, like, your best work might be from a show that I've never heard of, and so I'm not going to click on that show. You know what I mean? Like, if it says whatever esoteric show that I don't know, I'm like, I don't know what it is. I'm not going to click on it. But it might be the best work that I need to see, and I didn't click on it just now because it wasn't labeled, you know, comedy or drama. And I think if you're labeling it like soft, sincere girl with a vulnerable attitude, like, I don't think that's helpful either. Like, I want, like, to be clear, because like what you consider a soft, sincere girl with a vulnerable attitude, someone else might not consider that way, and it's just like it's weird to me. So
the descriptions are amazing.
Yeah, the descriptions sometimes get really, really intense.
Yeah, I mean, we could just have a conversation about, I'm sure,
about real descriptions.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that sometimes having type of clips is helpful for actors who self-submit so that they know what they're submitting. But you know, for agency managers, it's so hard. There's a new breakdown coming out like every few minutes, you know, and they need to focus on getting those clients into those submissions at a certain amount of time. So it's easier to just say, here's their materials, you know. But as long as you have, like you said, separated by genre, drama, comedy, then we can hope and assume that all of those other clips are in there, and it's just easier to skip forward than to go through them. And I've seen it happen too, where I'm sitting next to a colleague and we're going through submissions together, and she's like, she clicks on something and she's like, oh, she's not right for this, and I'm like, oh no, I know her, she's great, you know, click on her Mad Men clip or whatever. Yeah. And then she clicks on it and she's like, oh, you're right, but if I wasn't there, right now. So anyway. Glad we agree about that.
It's all a crapshoot, isn't it?
It's all a crapshoot.
It's also the thing that I'm having a hard time with the reels also is lately I'm finding a lot of YouTube reels that I can't download, and that is so frustrating. Or like the reel, like when you click on it on Actors Access, it takes you like to a YouTube link or something. And it's just like make sure those are downloadable, because what we need to do with them generally is download them and upload them to a different site, or send them to producers and compress them, or even pull clips from them. I've chopped up so many demo reels in my lifetime, and if I can't pull it from YouTube, that's useless to me.
Yeah. So do you use casting mostly?
Mostly, but I also use a lot of EcoCast, so it just like depends.
It's true. I think people don't realize, you know, because that is another reason why we use reels. You know, it's not just to take a look at it on Breakdown or Actors Access.
It's to sell you.
It's to sell you. And so we'll use that as supplement material to pitch you to the creative team, to get you approved by Studio Network. And so it is really important to have a downloadable version. Yeah. So help yourself and help your team have that, because many times your agents will just send you what they have, and it is like a YouTube link, and we can't. I found very shady ways to download YouTube. It's a miracle that my computer is still running.
I got memories from doing that on my computer. I know. It's the worst. I had to create a reel for an actor once, and for an actor who was long story long, I had to create a reel for an actor, and I was downloading clips on YouTube to put it together because it was a very specific reel I was trying to create for a very specific skill set, and the agent was like, well, we don't have this, and I was like, all right,
I'm gonna make it myself.
Make it myself. And so I like went on YouTube and I got this shady software, and my computer got a virus and exploded. So please just
that has happened to me too. I've gone through so many weird I don't even, this is a whole story for another day, but someone asked, so are the reels not downloadable on Actors Access and Breakdown? No, they're not, but no one's is, and that's fine. But as long as your actual footage that you have on hand are links that are downloadable, so if we ever need it for some reason, or if you ever choose to show it to us in some way that we can use it, make sure it's something downloadable, which is a Dropbox link, a Vimeo link, you know.
Hightail, WeTransfer, Dropbox, Vimeo, any of those things are fine. We can't rip it from Breakdown's Actors Access, but generally we don't need to, and we'll be able to just send that link. Sending a YouTube link to our creative team, just they don't like it. It's a bad look for some reason. It feels like I don't know what it is about it, but everybody has an issue with it for some reason, and then we can't rip it if we need something. So just don't put it on YouTube.
Yeah. Someone had asked about accents. Sorry, kind of switching gears all of a sudden. I get very distracted during these because I forgot the question.
I know, I'm trying not to like look at the bottom because it's like
so hard.
It's too much information.
It's a skill that I'm learning to acquire. And this is a good point. Someone asked about accents, and usually we do specify, you know, standard American or something specific. If there's no if they don't specify and someone has a natural accent, like a British accent or something, what would you say? is the appropriate thing?
My general opinion about it is prepare to do it both ways. Prepare to do standard American and prepare to do it naturally. A lot of the times it's American television and film, so we're just going to want to be seeing it in an American accent. It's just sort of the way it is. I think we're finding more and more leniency on that, and we're embracing a lot more natural accents, which is great and awesome, as it should be, but that doesn't mean it happens 100% of the time.
Yeah.
So if I know somebody has an accent, I will and they've only prepared it American, I will always ask them, like, can you do it naturally? Like, do you need a minute to go reprogram your brain and think about it and just do it naturally? Because also the other thing is, I think sometimes people concentrate so hard on doing the American, they lose some of the great acting that happens when they do it naturally. And so if I can watch them do it naturally, I can adjust them in their American a little bit and say, like, okay, these moments are what we need to bring out because you're working so hard on the accent and your mouth that we're missing some of these moments sometimes, because it's absolutely a skill, like 100%. The people that can do it flawlessly are incredible and amazing, and not something that I can do at all. So I think just being prepared to do it both ways makes the most sense.
I also want to just piggyback on that, and if your natural accent is American, something that I've seen a lot is will ask for standard American, but they'll see it's written in the South and they'll want to add that flavor to it. A twang, And let me just interject this, because I haven't talked about it a lot, and I have some passions about it.
It's a passion pitch, people get ready.
Yes. Sometimes the writing is written very Southern or twangy or whatever. And if you feel like unbelievably comfortable adding that because you are from the South or just are a master at accents, maybe you can add a very, 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 very slight twang. But if they're asking for standard American, it's probably for a reason, and you should respect that. But please don't try to, and especially if we say, prepare this with a very, very slight Southern accent. I'm using Southern as an example, but it can be any accent. Please prepare this with a slight Southern accent. If you don't feel comfortable doing that and it's going to hinder your performance, it's better to just do standard American.
100%. 100%. Do the thing that's going to get you the job and sell you the best. And this also, again, goes back to, like, when we say, like, throw it away a little bit more. If we see you trying too hard at something and you're, like, trying too hard to do this crazy twangy accent, and it's just, taking away from all this other great stuff you could be doing, it's not going to work. We want you to be successful. Now, if you come in and you're like, I prepared it this way and that way, and give us the option, we can maybe tell you, like, oh, and, like, usually I'll be like, fuck it, let's see both. Like, why not? But I'll always be like, let's do it the normal way first, and then maybe we could do it the crazy way, and then I'm gonna choose what's gonna go in front of my creative team.
Yes. Give it. Let us be the decision makers on that.
Totally.
So many other questions. Okay, let's get through some of these. We talked about that. Everyone has a different thought on this too, but I think it's just a good thing to kind of ask everyone about. How do you think things are going to change after this, for the industry, for casting? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think we are going to be doing live auditions for a very long time. I think the idea of having hundreds of people come into our tiny offices in our tiny non-soundproof rooms in front of a camera is just not something that's going to happen for a very, very long time. There's no way to protect ourselves. I mean, like, look, we all get the flu during pilot season. We're seeing so many people. Like, imagine this when you're asymptomatic. I think self-taping is going to be the way for a very long time. And I think people need to be prepared for that. I think people need to be prepared to have a setup in their house, whatever that setup is. I'm not saying go out and spend thousands and hundreds of dollars on a setup. I'm saying make sure that you can do it. I'm saying make sure you have a circle of 6 actor friends that you can text in a chain and say, I need a reader. Is anyone available? Or using programs like We Audition to find readers, or whatever it is. But just making sure you have quick access to be able to produce quality tapes, because the self-tape muscle is a different muscle. It's still a very important audition, and it should be treated like an audition. It should not be treated as if it's just like, it's a self-tape, especially now. because we cast so many people off of self-tape, and I think
so
we
many
will
people
be for a while.
Yeah, I think that, just to kind of, talk more about self-tapes, a lot of people say, oh, people ask, do we even watch self-tapes?
Yes.
Of course we watch self-tapes. I mean, a self-tape is...
It's an audition.
100%. It's no less viable of an audition than an in-person audition. And it is a different skill, but I've cast series regulars off self-tapes, I've cast everything from tiny co-stars to major recurring to series regulars. I mean, it's so, the producers for the most part, and I was actually going to ask you about this, because in my career, I would say 90% of my career has been putting actors on tape for producers.
Yeah.
So to them, it's really not much difference.
Nope.
Nope.
They're just not in the room with casting. I mean, the majority for the past years, majority of... I just got a spam call in the middle of this. That was so nice. The majority of the projects I've worked on in the past few years have been on tape with casting for producers. So to them, they're just like, oh, what are we doing? And like, I get that actors get upset. They're not getting the FaceTime in the room. They're not getting immediate feedback. They're not getting notes. I get all that. Trust me when I say I get all that. And like, it's not ideal for us either. I would always rather have you in the room to be able to work with you. Yeah. But to our creative teams, like you said, they're just watching tapes. And so, for us, we've always tried to make sure these tapes were high quality, that you could hear them, that you could see them, that you were getting everything you needed from the tape. Yeah. So, you got to do that, and you're going to have to do it without us live in the room for a little while. And I think it's just going to be the way for the foreseeable future. I just don't see a way around that at this point.
I agree, especially because most of these, at least most of my offices, are pretty small, intimate spaces. Yeah. Where in a normal world, I get spit on by actors all the time. Yeah. When I'm reading with them, it's just like, I'm just used to it. I come home with a face full of spit. It's just part of my day.
Part of the job.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I think one thing that I would say about that also for actors is just to know that I do think that things are going to pick up rather quickly. I think studios are really eager to get rolling and push content out there. But I do think that a lot of this will be self-tapes. And what that's going to mean for us is that we are going to be watching all these tapes and having a million notes for these actors. Yeah,
because we're getting a lot more reader expertise than we are used to.
Yes, and I would assume we'll be a lot more detailed with our self-taping instructions, giving notes about the character and everything that we can possibly do to set you up for success. So to read all of those notes as carefully as possible, and to also be prepared that you are probably going to be asked to redirect a lot of your self-tapes. Yeah. So, this even happens in the normal world where we'll see a self-tape and we see a lot of potential there, but they really could use a note. At least I do this a lot, and we'll give them a redirect, but they're halfway across town or they went out of town. So I'm not saying, don't stop your life, but to just in the back of your mind to be prepared for this new process and to know that you're going to have to kind of be on the ready to have this note and we need a quick turnaround. Yeah. And I don't know how you feel, but when I send out self-tape requests, not everyone feels this way, but I'm very much like, I always say in my instructions, if you have any questions about anything, like please call me. Yeah. Please email me. And I even say like the actors can call me directly, like my office phone, Yeah. And I can talk them through it. Cause like, what's the point? I don't need to play telephone with somebody, and I'm just looking for a good take, Right. So,
I think as long as those questions are like intentional and not just an actor being like, gimme. Because people abuse the system and that sucks. And I get like one bad apple spoils the bunch, but like we also try to give you guys as much information as possible so that you can be successful. But I give redirects. I've given redirects for tape. I'm assuming that's going to happen a lot more in the future. I don't know that callbacks will be live. They might be callbacks on Zoom recorded or Skype being recorded for a while. Maybe they'll do live chemistry reads with like, I just don't know. And I don't think anybody knows yet, but I think being prepared for a lot of this to be electronic for a long time is what we need to do right now.
But I think that's a really good thing, because actors always ask, what should I do right now in my time? How can I be proactive?
Yeah.
And I think that's a really great one, is to, and like you said, you don't need a $1,000 or more setup, you know?
No.
You know, we just need to be able to see your face, hear your voice. And I think what you said is great. Like right now, find a community, find a little team of 5 or 6 actors who it's like, hey, do you guys want to just like be readers with each other? Which is awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
you're
that way
you have a group of like, I need a reader at 6 o'clock today. Who's available? Like,
and help each other out.
Everybody's home. What are they doing? Unless they have kids.
Yes.
And they're hiding in their car from their children.
I think that is a fantastic idea. And it really doesn't have to be, I mean, there are so many just affordable ways of setting yourself up for success. I had bought I'm using, you can probably see it in my eyes, I'm using this little ring light. I bought it for like, I needed a cheap thing for when I needed to hold my own sessions, and I didn't really want to buy a whole setup, and it was like $100 or something, and it looks fine, you know what I mean? But it's nice because it holds your phone too. It's like a tripod. So telling you, $100 on Amazon. Not too bad.
Jeff Bezos really needs your money. So.
I promise this is not a sponsored sentence. So another thing that, I mean, this probably isn't going to, this is probably a question that changes a little bit with the times too, but actors in general always ask like how we feel about mailers and postcards and things like that. I always say the same thing, and then inevitably somebody will say, oh, well, I met someone who loves them. You know, so I like to hear different perspectives on that.
I hate them. I hate postcards. I think they're junk mail. I think they go right in the trash. I don't think they do anything. I think actors spend so much money on them and time on them and postage on them. And, at an office I used to work at, we would get bajillions of them a day, 20 of the same one a day, because there was one addressed to every single person in our office. And what are we supposed to do with them? Like, we have so much other stuff to do. Like, we're not saving your postcards and putting them in our calendar when we're gonna like watch your stuff. I'm sorry, it's just not happening.
It's not realistic.
But like, I'd love to see that you guys are working and doing stuff. That's not the point. So for me personally, and I know people differ on this, I use social media for this kind of stuff. I use my Twitter, I use my Instagram. Like, you can send me a tweet and say, hey, I'm on an episode of 911 tonight, hope you get to watch. And then like, I get to clock that, and you didn't have to spend any money doing anything except just typing to me. And like, it's great because I see that you're working and you're hustling and you're doing stuff. And like, maybe I'm going to end up watching it and be like, oh, there she is. Oh my God. So, it's for me personally, I just think it's a waste of time.
And it's better for the environment.
It's so much better for the environment. Please stop killing the trees, you guys. And they just go in the trash, and usually like our interns would just pull them and throw them right in the trash, and it makes me so sad.
I know
people have a different opinion. I know some people love them. Find out who those people are before you send them.
Yes. Like a black void that they go through, because for me, most of the projects I work on, we're physically moving offices for each project. And so people will say, oh, did you get my postcard? And I'm like, well, where'd you mail it? And they'll say Lantana, which is an office that I was at like 5 years ago, so chances are that even if you do send it to the right place, there's a whole mail filtering system. If I'm working at a studio on a lot somewhere,
forget it.
It's just like, by the time it actually makes it back to us, if you were saying, please consider me for this or whatever it is, chances are that happened 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. And again, like, some casting directors are extremely receptive on social media and some are not.
Yeah.
So you just have to do a little research and see like, oh, their profile is private, I should not bother them.
Yes.
Or see like, oh, this person has a public profile and is engaging with actors, I'm going to send them a tweet or whatever it is. Like, take the 5 minutes to do that research and ask around, because I'm sure there are people that love postcards. I'm not one of those people.
Yes, I agree with you. But, it is nice to hear different perspectives.
Totally.
Okay.
It's a dying art, the postcard.
I know. All right. So this is kind of something that people ask a lot. put up a question on here.
Oh.
Surprise. But basically I think what they're asking is, you know, if you don't have any footage or a lot of footage or footage that you're proud of, or even if you have a good amount of footage, but it's not showing what you're fully capable of.
Yeah.
You know, obviously I have thoughts on this.
I think if you have absolutely no footage, and that means like no student, like a student film footage is great. Like there's short footage that is great. You don't your reel doesn't have to only be network television and feature films. Like it just has to be well-produced footage of you doing good work, and that can come from so many different places. If you have absolutely none of that, I always think I'm not promoting this, but I think a self-tape of an audition is a better option. I don't think a monologue is a good representation. I don't think a film scene of like you and your friend at a cafe is a good scene, is a good idea. Original work I don't think is a good idea. I think a self-taped audition of you trying to get a job and being a character and the focus is just on you is the best thing to do.
I could not agree more with that. And by the way, like we didn't talk before this. I think it's funny that we agree on everything, but we didn't talk it out before this. But I agree with that because I think it's so hard to film something of your own that's not distracting and has us lose focus. Yeah. You know, I say this all the time. I see reels where people are filming something in like their studio apartment and it's like kind of weird lighting and we're like, we don't know what we're watching. It's so distracting.
It's so weird.
Self-tape, we know what that is, and that's something that we see all the time, and so we can, you know,
we have a frame of reference for that. And I don't want to see like somebody having recorded on their iPhone your theater performance of Hello Dolly. Like I don't want to see that either.
Are you sure?
I don't like, people try that all the time. Like I don't want to see that either. Like the theater stuff does not a real make. A theater muscle is an entirely different muscle to flex, and like it's just not gonna do it in the film and TV space. So I think just the audition self-tape reels is really where it's at.
Not to mention you can't really see them on the stage, you know. It's far away. It's just, who am I looking at?
It's so bad. It's so bad.
I
You
know.
can't hear them. You can't see them.
Theater
like
is
what not to do.
Yes, totally. So I have so many questions, but I kind of wanted to go into some like more fun questions. Because we've never done some like get to know each other. Like we're more than just, you know, people who watch actors. So I have to ask, do you have an aquarium?
No, I wish. I'm a crazy person and I just love aquariums and I always have, to the point where like if we ever go like traveled for a wedding, my husband and I'd always be like, is there an aquarium where we're going? Like
Cara, I feel like we're the same person. This is why I asked you this, because this question, like you saying that you're an aquarium lover, like speaks to my Aquarius soul. So I like love that you love aquariums because I love them.
I love them so much. They just make me really happy. I've always loved them as a kid. I don't know what it is. They bring me joy. The otters are real cute. Everything's happy.
Have you heard of the otter experience in San Diego?
Have I heard of the otter experience in San Diego? I am dying to do the otter experience in San Diego. I literally, like, if it has a baseball stadium or an aquarium in whatever city we go to, like, we're going to try and find
Oh my God, I just love that. What's your favorite TV show?
What is my favorite TV show?
I don't even know if I have an answer to this. I'm just curious.
I'm watching a lot of Brooklyn Nine-Nine right now because I think it's just one of the funniest shows on television. We need it right now. Mm-hmm. It's so good. I love Schitt's Creek. I think it's so good. So funny. I still watch Grey's Anatomy every week. I'm the one, and I don't care. I love it. There's more than one for sure. I love it so much. What else do I love? I love Insecure, and the season of Insecure just started, and it is so freaking good. Yeah, it is so good. What else am I watching? I don't know. I'll watch anything, but the majority of what I'm watching is Cocomelon and Frozen right now with my toddler. So
same. Right now, it's the new Trolls movie. Is what I'm watching the majority of right now. Did you watch Tiger King?
Oh, did I watch Tiger King?
Did Carol kill her husband?
She 100% killed her husband. She killed her husband. Everyone knows she killed her husband. And also, we should not let that crazy person out of jail. Joe Exotic deserves to be in jail. And Carol Baskin killed her husband. And they're all insane.
100%.
They're all insane.
Agree on everything. Amazing. It's like, did you watch the after show?
Oh, I did. It was weird. It was very weird. I was just like, I feel like I'm not supposed to be watching this. Like, I feel like I'm like interrupting someone's FaceTime call.
That's how I felt. Like, I was like, I like somehow got into someone's Zoom chat.
Yeah.
That was strange.
It's strange. Like, I love that Joel McHale was just like, yeah, fuck it. All right, I'm here.
Yeah. Like, I love this documentary. What else am I going to do? I was like, I should ask him to do a live if he's that bored.
Yeah.
So
he's
funny.
Not doing anything, Joel McHale.
Favorite actor and actress?
Oh God.
Sorry, I don't know if these are toughies. That's like,
oh, I don't know. I don't even know where to start. I literally just like my Rolodex started being like in my head.
I don't even have I've never been able to choose a favorite. I have a favorite actress, but I've never been able to choose a favorite actor for some reason. I just can't do it. I don't know why.
That it would hurt me physically, I think, to be able to have to label.
I don't want to hurt you.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that. You love all actors.
I just love actors, and I love actors that do good work, and all actors do good work for different reasons. And
somebody said, who would you cast as Joe Exotic?
Oh my God. I didn't come up with this, but I saw on the internet that the campaign for Dax Shepard to play Joe Exotic, and now I can't get that out of my head.
I like that. I like that. Somebody also on the internet said Sean Hayes, and now I can't get that out of my head.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So good. I also saw that Lisa Kudrow should play Carol Baskin, and I was like, yes.
That is so
literally
perfect.
Yes. It's
oh my
the
God.
role she's been meant to play her whole life.
Oh my God. We are available for hire to cast the Tiger.
Yeah, I'm in. I'll do it for free. I don't care. Call me.
Yeah, me too. Free casting directors right here to cast.
Right here.
For Tiger.
Here, and we're gonna take care of it.
Amazing. I just want to end on one sort of really different thing, because Instagram kicks us off after an hour, so we have like 7 minutes left. This is a totally random turn of questions. But I think that it would be interesting to talk about it with you, because it's obviously relevant to both of us. And actors say this to me a lot, and I never really talk about it, but I hear a lot from actresses and also actors who are, you know, in a relationship or whatever, that they are worried about creating a family or having a baby or getting pregnant or however you want to start a family, because they think that it might hinder your career. And
it will. It will. I don't know what else to say. I think this is something that I've struggled with a lot, and publicly started talking about a little bit more. It doesn't mean that you're never gonna work again, and it doesn't mean that you're never gonna be a star or whatever, but it does mean you're gonna have to find a completely new balance in your life. And I am still struggling with that balance. A motorcycle just went by. That was really nice. It is just about finding balance and what that balance means, because it's going to be very, very different now, especially when you have a kid. I can't spend I can't stay at the office until 9 p.m. anymore. I just can't do that. I can't sleep at the office anymore. I've slept at the office plenty of times during a pilot season. I can't do that anymore.
I still do that if I'm pregnant at the office, for the record. It's not going to stop.
I can't, it's different. Your priorities shift, and you have to find a way to fulfill your soul and fill your cup. You know, my best friend Scout and I talk about this a lot, like filling your cup and being a mom, and like how you can be, you know, what makes you a better mommy, basically. And like what makes me a better mom is my ability to still do the things I love, one of which is casting and working in this industry. And so it's about finding a way to do that, and what makes that possible. There are not always going to be people that are going to be supportive of that, because there's going to be people that don't have a family or don't have a significant other, or they don't have to worry about it, or they're willing to work until 9 p.m. And so you need to find some like-minded people that appreciate you and know your work ethic and know what you're capable of. And sometimes hard decisions have to be made to be able to do what you want to do. it's not impossible. I don't
Yeah.
think it's impossible, but I'm
Yeah.
still figuring it out. I'm still learning how to
Yeah.
do it. And
Yeah.
I think I always will be, especially as,
Yeah.
you know, my daughter grows up. It's just
Yeah.
going to be more and more different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of times actors, you know, they're worried that they're going to have missed opportunities from the time that they've taken back, and that they're going to come back and not have as strong of an opportunity. One thing I always like to say is, despite everything that's going on right now, like, our industry's not going anywhere. So for, you know what I mean? So for whatever reason, if you feel the need or the desire to take off any amount of time for any amount of reason, like, we're still going to be here, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's important to remember that, because I think actors just get into this mindset of like, acting has to be my whole world and nothing else in order for me to do this.
Yeah.
And that's not true. You know, there is so much more to life. So many amazing things that you should take advantage of and do. And, you know, no one wants you to regret anything, but we're always going to be here. You know,
we're here. We understand it. Like, listen, childcare issues come up all the time for actors. Like, you know, we get phone calls too, like, this person can't make it. They have a childcare issue. And it's like, I get it. Like, figure out a self-tape. We'll figure out a reschedule, figure out whatever. Like, we try to be accommodating to those things as possible, because life happens. And we understand that, like, yes, like, this is your career and this is your job and you're working at it, but like, it's also your life. And you have to find the balance between the two. And it is a struggle that I am ever working on. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't know. Ooh, did we freeze? What happened here? Worth it. Totally worth it. Totally.
round it out by saying thank you so much again for taking time out of your toddler-filled quarantine life to chat and talk to me and answer questions and hang out and be awesome, and for being part of this. And stay safe, stay healthy, all of the things.
You too.
Thank you.
I'm sorry to say, we're in this together.
We are.
We're gonna get through this. It's a drag, and it's weird, and it's uncomfortable for everyone. And I think, you know, what's lovely is it's all coming together in this space and trying to figure out a way to make it work and be there for each other. So thank you for giving us the space to do that. And you know, we soldier on.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks.
Keep going, doing your thing.
You
take
too,
care.
girl.
I'm sorry your vacation's over.
I know, my car vacation. I have to go back to my toddler now.
You could hang out for 5 more minutes.
Right?
I won't tell anyone.
She's like about to nap. I might just like sit here
and
meditate.
You can do that. Sounds amazing. All right. Thank you again.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
Talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.